Hello, welcome to the podcast of Startup Recruitment Failures. I'm Indra, founder and CEO of JobRely. We're building LinkedIn automation platform for outbound recruitment. And today my guest is Linas Armalys, CEO at Noviti Finance. Linas, could you please introduce yourself and your company?
Hello, Indra. Hello, all podcast listeners. It's a great pleasure to be here invited in this podcast. My name is Linas Armalys. I'm head of Noviti Finance. Our company is the one which is financing SME customers, smallest corporate customers in Lithuania and in Latvia for already 6 years. And we are one of most active, I would say, SME lenders in our region.
Great. So thank you for participating, Linas. And maybe you could share the recruitment failure you had, maybe the most recent one, or maybe the most, regretful or impacting for?
In general, I'm very lucky and very glad that we are quite successful in building our team. So even by thinking about failures, I'm kind of feeling very glad that we had only a few of those. And even those few are probably a part of a game. So it's clear that, it's very complex process of finding teammates. As you know, we like to speak between ourselves and our team. It's like, boiling a soup. Each person is extremely important. This person brings not only particular skills, which at that time we look for, but due to the fact that it's relatively a few of us, now it's 16, but at some point it was only 2 or 3 or 4. So each person really brings very much of its own attitudes, its own vibe, and definitely that vibe is affecting overall vibe in the team, despite the fact how much I would be trying to influence it by myself. But it's really a complex thing, and each person is nevertheless very much affecting that. Yeah, so that's the thing. So yeah, have we had the failures? I would say in this way. Have we had unsuccessful hiring? Yes, we had. The overall thing was, when I look back, it's in a way, it was quite funny. It was in a way we were looking for some position, and we had lots of applications. And one thing funny is always to look at the applications, because why I say funny, because it's very interesting each time. Like 80% of applications which you get are out of space at all. I mean, it's like in a way, that, sometimes we were getting applications when, there is a photo and a girl is sitting on the knees of her boyfriend, which is, I don't get it, why exactly that photo was inserted into the CV, but very kind of strange things there. But definitely there is a portion of applications which are at least formally like fitting the experience and the skills check boxes. And in that particular situation, at the final round, we had 2 persons which were fitting those kind of our checklist, which were according to our checklist. One was with more experience, another one was with no experience, but with somehow very good kind of personal skills and very strong determination. The person which was very much willing to work in our company and even refused the offer of the bank, which was making an impression for us because we were still small non-bank lender. And of course, it was very interesting to understand the reasoning which that person made for herself. And what we did, basically, we actually hired both. We were looking for one, but I told to my teammate that, I said, what, let's hire both. It's not so frequent that we would have a luxury to hire 2 persons, which in our opinion are fully fitting our situation.
Right, especially nowadays.
Yeah, nowadays. We should use that opportunity. So that's what we did, despite the fact that it was kind of tricky. And the person said, okay, deliver the message to that young applicant that, what to do, we have more experience and etc. But eventually we hired. And, the interesting thing is that exactly that more experienced one eventually was the one which was not the right fit, and that the second one which we hired is, one of the most perspective, one of the best employees currently, the teammates currently. So that is quite interesting situation which happened with us.
What was the position?
It was a position targeted to work with existing customers.
Okay, because this is very interesting. I actually had this experience myself, hiring two developers, programming the exact same language, and one was super senior, another one was just the beginner in his career. And guess who wrote the whole app from the scratch? Not the senior one. So
Yeah.
it always like admires me, like. That if the person is more motivated and more committed, they achieve much more. But what was the case in your company? When did you start noticing that there is a difference and the gap is increasing?
It's again, it's so strange with the hiring, I would say. I mean, we were starting to notice it quite soon. I mean, that is the interesting thing, that in a couple of weeks you really starting to feel that either there is going to be a fit or something goes wrong, and that's exactly the case. And again, sometimes I'm questioning myself, okay, would it be possible somehow to avoid that situation? Maybe we were having too few interviews, maybe we would need some extra testing or whatever, maybe. But I was working in a big bank, where costs were not an issue, and they were spending a lot of money on hiring, mid-level managers with all possible testing and etc. And I remember my manager was telling that, what, our success ratio is 50-50. Even with all those tests, even with everything. I mean, we basically, when it concerns mid-level management, which is a kind of complex position, it's not some technical skills, it's like really those interpersonal skills and etc.
Yes.
You hire a manager, it's a tricky thing. The success ratio is 50-50 with all the testings and all the possible things. So it just proves that it's even not a question of some particular test or everything. I mean, yeah, sure, probably test, the more you will do, testing, the better probably. But it's good to have some certain number of some crucial tests. But still, the complexity is there. And the other aspect is still interesting, that despite that fact, when you start to work with a person, you will realize that fit quite soon. I mean, you will realize it just when the person will start working. After a week or two, you will have, at least that's in my case, you will have that feeling, okay, is there a fit or not? Or is something going a little bit not to that direction? Or maybe it will be in a way that, okay, the person is still okay, maybe the skill level is not that high as we were expecting, or the impression was, but the person is still okay. So, there might be different things, but nothing is better than a few weeks of direct experience of working with a person.
I agree. But what were the first signs you start noticing?
That probably the person is not fast learner, that the person is trying to learn but asking the same things again and again, and not able really to catch up. And what is it's very important that the person would be able to be a quick learner, at the same time to be self-disciplined, that to be able to track, okay, where I'm good, where I'm bad, where I should improve myself. So really to be the one which is navigating himself or herself through this initial period. The support is needed, and the support is always there, but that capability to learn and is very important. In principle, you are starting to feel, okay, will that person be feeling himself comfortable in that position, or will it require never-ending mentorship and supervision? So if it will require that supervision constantly, well, that's not a good sign. So probably those things. In principle, I very much like, there is this startup quite widely, I suppose, spread this notion. And I think Horowitz or somebody else told that, when he was talking to his manager, that, there are two types of people in a work. There are those which are cannons and those which are kind of your ammunition, yeah. And you need both of those type of people in your team. Basically, you can't have only cannons or only ammunition.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit maybe cynical, kind of sounds like cynical comparison. But in principle, it is quite correct from perspective that it very much depends on the position. Sometimes you need people in some positions. You need people who are just really are good at doing some particular thing and they feel comfortable in doing that particular thing. But in some positions, you really need people who are very much self-disciplined, who are really know the problem and they are looking for the solution. And they might need a support, but you really feel that capability of those persons to navigate themselves in the space, in this business, in the environment, to deal with the problems, to find those solutions, to look for new problems, why the thing is not working, where is the problem, and etc. So, when I deal with people, I really try to define, okay, what exactly I expect from the person. I'm looking how quickly that person is capable to learn, and eventually I'm trying to feel, okay, is that person, is he feeling okay in that position? Is he really in the right place from perspective, both from company perspective and both from his perspective? Because if he feels bad, if it's not the work which is okay for him, then again, it will be a problem. It's a question of time. So yeah, probably that's the thing.
But I'm just thinking, it's like, you mentioned a few times capability to learn. Is it related to exactly like how the person is feeling, whether they are motivated or feeling that they are at a good environment and just then they thrive, and grow in their career? What do you think about this? What is the capability of learning?
Yeah, I mean, capability of learning is it's both personal thing. I mean, I would split your question into two. I mean, one thing is that the more mature is the person as personality, the more he knows what he wants in life. He knows things in which he's good or she's good and where he should improve. So it's very difficult to deal with people who are a little bit lost, who are still looking for themselves,
Right.
do not know what they want to do in life. So they try different things. Very good, very nice, time of life. We all went through that. It's great, but it very much depends. I mean, big organizations are very good for that. But when we talk about startup, when we talk about a team of 10 people, where everybody is very much important, where each person brings its own vibe, its own skills, and everybody depends on each other. I mean, it's not the best place, both for that person to really look for himself and both for other team members to really be those mentors which are helping for somebody to find himself. So I mean, I very much also in this case support that in a small team it's very nice and very convenient to work with mature professionals who are really know what they want and they have this both professional skills and both those interpersonal skills polished.
Totally agree.
So from that perspective, now the second part of the question was about that feeling comfortable, and it is important, but and it should be like that. It's absolutely it's in my opinion the blanket is here very high in our days, and we spend as we're talking inside our team, we spend too much time at work in order for that place to be just a place to earn money. As sometimes Brits are saying, people from Great Britain, that as I heard that I'm working in order to live. So I mean, of course, it's not everybody, but I just heard in Great Britain that one. But no, I think that there are a lot of people who are working just to be able afterwards to live, to spend the time on hobbies, to spend the time with the family, on vacation, and etc. etc. But it's a little bit sad situation in that case, because I think that we really spend too much time at work,
Right.
just to earn money, and then afterwards to be able to live the remaining time which is there, because probably not so much time is there afterwards. We spend more than half of our conscious life at work, I would say, or while driving towards work and backwards from work.
Yeah.
So, so it should be a place where we might realize ourselves, where it is fine people to be with, to work with, to share experiences with, to learn, to grow, and etc. So that's a must. That's a must. And especially in my mentioned startups, in the small teams where it's very dynamic, where it's lots of challenges, which is a great part of being in a startup, but it's very important to be with the right team.
I think so too. I believe that it's really, we spend a lot of time, and if we don't see any purpose in that, then it's meaningless. Then it's just earning money, and people are not able to realize, themselves, and then to feel important, and to have the purpose in their life. But at the situation when you start noticing, right, that the person is not very much, maybe even eager to learn, or not only just capable to learn, will you try to do something about it? Did you try to talk to them?
Yeah, I mean, I should make a remark here. I mean, in principle, those situations, when it's not on the person, it's very much on the manager. I mean, eventually, I very much remember my studying MBA, and what was very much curious each time we were studying different cases, the manager was always the guilty one. And that was funny because, usually we were like, oh, okay, that one is guilty one. Okay. Well, if I miss in a term of guilty, I mean, there was some kind of a problem, and then we were looking, okay, where is the problem? Where is the core of a problem? And we were trying to find out it always in some kind of secondary, in some technical person who was somehow making mistakes. But eventually, I very much remember that each time, usually the manager was the one which was the core of a problem. And I also, in the same situation here, I very much think that it's two-way street. I mean, the person was trying to really do its best, but sometimes that's what happens, that there is no fit, that the particular position and the particular person is not the right fit. And then it's very difficult. It's stressful for the person, and it's not such a good result for the organization. And then it's again the duty of the manager to solve it as soon as possible. And it is in that case, it's a must for both. It's a difficult decision, and manager's duty is to solve it. It's a hard talk situation, or hard situation in principle, to really split with a person, to explain it, to somehow manage emotional part of all that situation. But who is that manager who is not able to do that? I mean, that's a must. And yeah, that's what we did. I mean, we had a very nice and honest conversation with the person, and we proposed, our support from that perspective, that it was clear that there is no fit between the person and the position. And we split it in a very positive way, and I'm very glad about that. And it's a responsibility also on the manager, from perspective that, if we would not hire her, maybe the person would find another job, which would be a win-win for that person. So, I mean, it's also on our side that, we somehow decided that there will be a fit. And we hired the person, we created this notion that, okay, it should be okay. So, yeah, of course, the person also by herself decided also to join us, but the decision was mutual. We also decided it. So, in that case, that's how we view that. So those type of situations, should be solved quickly and less painful as possible for both sides, probably.
And what did you learn out of this situation?
A few maybe things. One thing is this, that one of the easiest maybe lessons is this, that, some people are naturally, they are better at presenting themselves than others. For example, I'm the guy who also, I assume I have the skill which allows me, when I was looking for the job, to really to proceed interviews in a quite good way. For some people, it is easier. For some, it is not so easy. Yeah? Some people are more stressful during that process, some are less stressful. And stress is very much affecting the result of each interview. Despite the fact it's clear that, interview, it's just, I mean, it's a process of hiring. It's not the most important thing how you will be dealing with your duties when you will be in a position. So interview has nothing to do with that. It's a part of hiring process only. So that's one thing. So we really try to really distinguish, okay, let's try to understand the person. Some might be better at their presentation, some might be worse. Let's try to take away the stress out of our interviews, and let's try to really understand, what that person is like exactly, what it's like, what skills it has, and etc., and interpersonal skills, and etc. So as mentioned, it's quite simple thing, and I think it's maybe important for some younger startuppers. They definitely will find out that during their work experience. The other thing is that nothing is better than the actual practice with a person. And as mentioned, a few weeks of work are much better than any kind of interview or test, in my opinion, in my experience. Yeah, because when you deal with a person for a week or two, you can try to be better than you are for a few hours, but it's very difficult to be better than you are for a few weeks. I think that we as managers have quite sensitive radars, while trying to feel the person. So it will pop up, and we eventually it's much easier to understand the actual person. Is he a fit or not? While having actual practical experience with him. Regarding homework, homework's also good thing, but again, for me, it's always interesting to find the way how person thinks, not so much what exactly he does, but more the path of his thoughts, how he deals with a problem, how he splits the problem into components and then tries to solve it. So, it's about the homework. It's very good from perspective that it's about how, not what. You're very much interested in how, much more than in what exactly that person will present. That was also the case, just that in some positions it's quite tricky. It's not so easy to appoint those homeworks, or the exact homeworks are quite different from what person will be doing on a daily basis.
I agree, but it's still very interesting to compare candidates in general, because I had many examples, but one could be we were hiring digital marketing person, and we asked all the selected candidates to conduct homework, to prepare a task, and they could choose any format they wanted. And of course, we asked, for the strategy and the numbers, how they could be allocated according to each of the channel during the upcoming year. And a few candidates actually came up not with the Excel, table presenting all the numbers, but with a presentation, PPT file presenting nice visuals and nice text. So you can very well to assess that the person, well, maybe they are more creative than the numbers people, right? And in digital marketing, we needed numbers then. So it's, in general, it's a quite good selection process. It cannot be 100% whether the person will be delivering in that position, but at least you can see, the way they are thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly, that's about how they are doing it. Very interesting part. The majority of benefit comes from understanding how they are thinking, how they look at the problem. But my experience again is that it's all those homeworks. I mean, usually 90% of cases, my expectation was higher than the actual result which we got. Maybe because I had too much expectations. I don't know, but still, when you present some homework, you still think, okay, what they will do. You still have some kind of imagination. What I would do in that place, how I would imagine that, and that a little bit contradicts with the actual result what they present. So again, kind of tricky, but it does not anyhow delete the benefit of that. It's definitely a benefit there. To see how the persons think in practice with this practical task which they received, how they are thinking.
Yeah. Well, it is tricky because once I had a candidate, a copywriter, and the task was to create an article in English, and the candidate asked a friend for a help.
Yeah.
So we hired them, and they didn't perform at all
Yeah.
because it was too complicated. So it is quite tricky, and of course, it does require a lot of openness, from both of the sides. And when you mentioned about this, like, 50-50, like 50% rate of success on hiring, how to be so open-minded and to allow these situations, that you hire, and it could be that after 2 weeks you see that there is no match, and maybe we just split up. How to not regret and not to be so tensed up, right? Because you're kind of investing a lot of time onboarding in the team and with all the tasks. So how to not to feel so much stress about the hire, and the decision is made.
Yeah. That situation of 50-50 was exactly in the bank where I worked, but and that was quite illustrative.
Yeah.
In our case, it's not so black and white. It's in a way that we still try to understand the person, and each one is very much individual. So eventually, it's in a way that you have a person which is not necessarily fitting, some imaginable, ideal vision, but who said that the vision is correct. So, it's still a person who has, maybe in some places he lacks some things, but in some places he is exceeding some things which, maybe I had not had in my vision. So still it's in a way that, as I mentioned, this comparison of a soup, you eventually try it and either you like it or not. So we like it. Is it like always in a way as I predicted? No, it's not. But that's complex thing, to build a team. And each person, is very much individual. And eventually you have some kind of result, which is performing in some individual way. So, in my case, what I mean that we are still very effective team. Now, is that team a result of my imagination? No, I think it's a result of the fact that, we were growing, we hired people, we somehow avoided those who would be ineffective or those who were not perfect fit. We separated quite quickly, and we tried to do it in the best possible ways by minimizing any damage, emotional including. But at the same time, with those who were the right fit, they were the right fit in some individual ways. And that is, again, very interesting thing. You are hiring, let's say, marketing manager, but then you see that he's, very important for the building team spirit.
Yeah.
And you were not having this checkbox while hiring. Oh, that one, we need, strong spirit, and that person should bring that type of vibe to the team. No, I mean, that was not in the list, but eventually that's what it is. So, that's very interesting journey to build a company and to grow together with the company.
Great. And to finalize, what would be your advice for other startup founders, having your experience in mind? Like, what is the key takeaway podcast listeners could take?
If I may provide some my personal experience advices, I would say that if you start a company, start it with people whom you trust, with whom you have a good vibe. It should not be only professional skills. You should really understand each other. You will go through different times, good times, bad times, and you should really kind of, there should be glue between you and your teammates, emotional glue, in order to go through all those times successfully. I would recommend there is this proverb, very correct one: we hire for attitude, we train for skills.
Yeah.
Golden words, I would say. It's always about attitude, always about that, and skills are important, but it's secondary. At the same time, if you're a young company, it's better to have mature team members, from perspective, not from age perspective, of course, but I mean, age is insignificant here at all, but from this professional and personal perspective, that it would be great if those people would be, as it said in Lithuania, for one beaten person, 9 unbeaten are given. It's like a very old proverb. I don't know from which time, but I think it's about that person which has experience, life experience, who went through good times, through bad times, through stressful times. I mean, it's much easier with such a person to build a company, because he knows how to deal with his own stress. He knows how to deal with other person's stress. He's not panicking. He knows what he wants in life, what are his priorities, and etc. etc. That's very important things, I think. And we as CEOs will always have this responsibility to be a pillar for our company, the strongest one. Everybody will be looking at us, okay, how our CEO is behaving, and how is dealing with the stress and the problems, and etc. But it's good if our team members will be also those strong ones, where time to time, we might also look at them and have that support.
Exactly.
And see that they are in the same way strong, not that we are, in some kind of, I don't know, kindergarten, the oldest one, the most experienced, and all of us are just, doing what we are asking. I mean, it should be teamwork, exactly teamwork. And it's very nice when people are just professionals with different roles. I mean, CEOs in technological company, it's even difficult to say who is more important. From perspective, it's a role which a person is performing. I mean, he's leading the company. It's some responsibilities which that person has, but there are other very important responsibilities. So it's good if you deal with professionals and with experienced persons.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that in a startup, especially in a smaller one, all the team members are the key people, from customer support to the CEO, right? Because one could not exist without another one. So it's
Exactly.
very important.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Linas, so much for your time and for sharing.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
And thank you to all the listeners. For more podcasts, please visit jobrely.com.